Very good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us this morning on Sky News Breakfast.
Good morning.
We were just talking there about the rail strike, so I just wonder if I can ask you quickly a question about that. The RMT on strike today. Do you think that they should put the latest offer from the rail companies to a ballot of their members? They did that with the Network Rail deal. Do you think that the RMT should ask their members what they think of this one?
Look, they have to deal with that because we all want the rail strikes to come to an end. It's not for me as a Labour politician to tell unions how to the detail of negotiation and micromanage that. But what I do think is that we really, really need these strikes to come to an end because our country needs to be able to move on. We need to recover. It's not good for people to have to take strike action. Nobody wants to do it. And I would really say to the government that they need to negotiate properly. They need to make sure that they do all they can to end these strikes. And frankly, this is dragged on, and it's not good for people who want to get to it's not good for people given the big events that we've got, Eurovision today and others, and it's not good for those people feeling forced to take industrial action either.
OK. Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer is due to make a speech today. We're told that he's going to say that he will offer voters a radical election vision that goes further and deeper than Tony Blair's. And he says it'll be like Clause 4 on steroids. What does that mean? What's that going to look like in terms of policy?
Well, people will remember in 1997, the country had been through 18 years of a Tory government and, our public services were on their knees and Labour came in and reformed the country. We rebuilt the NHS and schools, and people will know that people thought that couldn't happen, and there was that same feeling of hopelessness in the 90s too. But now it's actually a bigger challenge because not only have the Tories yet again ruined our public services and waiting lists, which we thought we had tackled, have re-emerged, but also we've got the global challenge, we've got a war on the continent, we've got the need to take action on climate change. And we've also got a problem not of unemployment in this country, but of people not able to earn enough and not able to make progression and get really good jobs. So actually those challenges are different and they're bigger in some ways, and that's why we need a Labour Party that has changed itself after our historic defeat of 2019, but listens to the country and the public and is that vehicle for their hope.
But when you talk about radical change, what does that mean? I mean, what are the specifics? What policies will change? What can voters expect that's going to be different from Labour?
Well, you know that we have set out some immediate policies, particularly on schools and hospitals, to make sure that we can get more staff into the NHS, and identified money in order to do that. But take this issue of employment, where the Tories say, and Rishi Sunak was actually called out for telling untruths and telling the wrong story in the House of Commons about it, that the Tories will say that we've conquered unemployment, but actually around the country we've got too many people in low-paid work that's not offering them a good future, it's not offering them progression. We want to change the way that job centres work so that we get those good jobs from the energy transition, for example. We get better jobs in the new industries of the future, but also we offer people real help and support to get those better jobs. And that's not just about tackling the old problems or doing things in the way that we have. It's about changing public services so that they really help people be ambitious and move on and move up in life.
Because Keir Starmer is talking about Clause 4 on steroids, like I said, but what can you point to so far that demonstrates practically a level of radicalism that comes close to Tony Blair's?
Well, I think if you look at the challenge that we faced after 2019, our worst result in so many years, since 1935, I think. And then you look at how Keir pulled out anti-Semitism by its roots, fundamentally changed how the Labour Party was working so that we could deal with the problems that we had internally. Then you look at the recent local election results where we took over 500 new council seats, Tories losing more than 1,000. I think you can see the results. But, we do need to go further because the challenges our country is facing are big. And that's why I say whether it is in employment, making sure that people really can get much better jobs in the future, or whether that is in schools, helping families have a breakfast club in every primary school so that we know that parents have better options about the choices of jobs that they have. We have got to really think about where our country is going in the future and be that vehicle for change and hope that is so desperately needed.
If you're talking about radical change, does it mean more backtracking by Keir Starmer on previous pledges? We have seen him reverse promises that he's made on tuition fees just in the last week or so, and the nationalisation of utilities as well, just for two examples.
What we've done is say that all our policies must be properly costed, and I think that's the right thing for any responsible party that's hoping to go into government to do. Actually, if you look at the changes that we're proposing, it's about thinking about where we want our country to be in the future. Take, for example, investment in changing our energy mix that's needed for climate change, but it's also needed to make sure that people's family finances are more sustainable. We want to insulate people's homes, just to give one example, because that will be the kind of change that will help with costs now, but also will give people better jobs and change the way people live into the future. So, for me, it's about making sure that the Labour Party is that vehicle for change and hope, and that we're not sort of having an internal argument, but we're thinking about where the country is headed and how we can put down a more sustainable footing for the future.
And I'm reading in the papers this morning that Labour plans to restrict bosses sending their employees any communications out of hours. Is that something you're pushing through on? Explain that to us.
So what we want is for people to have a good quality of life at work. And I think lots of people want to make sure that flexible working means that good quality of work. We've all got used to very different ways of working, whether that is Zoom and, having many more remote meetings and the change that means, or whether that is, the fact that we all live with our smartphones all the time. We've just got to make sure that those guardrails are there to make sure that people's quality of life is good. Because, all the research and economic analysis says that if you've got people with a sense of autonomy and dignity at work, they're far more creative and innovative, and they're able to find new ways of doing things and make our economy more productive, more profitable. So it's about putting those rules in place to make sure that everybody can get the most out of life at work. People want to have good jobs. They want to achieve something in their life at work, and that's what we're thinking about. How do you make those jobs really as good as they possibly can be? Well paid, well skilled, and also that sense of, a real sense of achievement and autonomy.
Alison McGovern, Shadow Employment Secretary, thanks very much indeed for your time this morning.
Thank you.